Read myself. Good evening, and Céad Míle Fáilte, the latest episode of the Late Late Show with me, Irish Tommy. Thanks for joining. We're going to be talking all things West Ham, obviously, particularly about our game last night against Anderlecht, and also our upcoming game with Fulham on Sunday, among other things. But I won't be alone. I've got Matt. Evening, Matt.
Evening, mate. How you doing?
Doing good. And we are expecting someone else, I hope, soon, if he can make it. But for now, it's me and you. So obviously, look, we're going to start with the most recent game, which was out in Anderlecht last night. Obviously, a good win, and 9 points from 3 games, so got to be happy. How did you feel about the overall performance last night, Matt?
It's a weird one because I'm not particularly a fan of the 5 at the back, but I thought as a whole we played quite well, and the scoreline really flattered Anderlecht. I thought we should have we should have quite comfortably won that by 3 or 4 goals. We had a lot of chances. We had enough chances. We just as we've been most of the season, we haven't been clinical enough. You know, it's just maybe yesterday, fortunately, Areola saved us at the end. Or that maybe we would have summed up our season that game if hadn't pulled off that wonder save.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing we've really struggled with this season. It's just that final pass or the finish. And obviously, I suppose as regards the final pass / finishing, there's kind of an elephant in the room from last night, which unfortunately was Benrahma. It's been hard enough for Benrahma to kind of convince Moyes of his worth, to the team and try and force his way into the Premier League side. And, I feel like last night was a real opportunity for him. And, he did some really good stuff. But unfortunately for him, at the end of the day, I think what he'll be remembered for really is fluffing his lines in front of goal.
There's certain positions where you can get away with it. Like if you're playing in the middle of midfield, or sometimes if you're out on the wing, you don't get seen as much. But like if you're a goalkeeper or a centre back and you make a mistake, 9 times out of 10 the other team scores. So even if you've had a stellar 9 out of 10 performance, you've dominated that back line, you make that one mistake, that's all anyone talks about. On a whole, Benrahma had a very good game yesterday. It was one of his better performances. But all anyone's going to be talking about, he had a few chances that he should have scored, but everyone's only going to be talking about that miss, essentially the open goal miss. Bowie's done terrific work, taking the goalkeeper out of the equation. He's leant back. He hasn't had the confidence. He wasn't on the front foot. He wasn't running into the ball to get his knee over the top to keep the height on it. He's sat back waiting for the ball to come to him. He's leant back. It was like a clearance. If that had been in the box that he was defending and tracked back, that'd be a good clearance. But unfortunately, all the hard work he's done just gets unravelled. Yeah. But in everyone's eyes, in the way modern world is, everything's instant. We want it now. It's got to be now. It's this one performance. Especially Moyes, he does sort of get untreated fairly. But Moyes, that will be in the back of Moyes' head again that, for all the good work he's done, when I needed him to get that thing, he didn't do it. And he sort of got away because we won the game. But had Areola not made that save, he would have been getting even more stick. And it's unfortunate because I thought we had a really good game.
Yeah, that it's a pity for him as well. I feel a bit bad for him as well, to be honest. Clearly finishing isn't his forte. That was a sitter. It has to go down as a sitter. I mean, it's right in front of goal, 8 yards out, roughly. Has the goal at his mercy, keeper's out of it. And just to blaze it over the bar like that, that was the glaring miss. But there were other opportunities for him as well where he didn't connect with the ball correctly, or there was no power behind the strike. And, And like you say, he did a lot of good things off the ball. You know, he got involved. He was really prominent in the game, actually, and he was getting on the ball a lot. He was making those forward runs, and he was getting himself into really great positions to affect the game. And it's just a pity that he fluffed his lines right at the most important moments. And like you say, that's what we'll all remember, essentially, is that, okay, yes, you played well, you were getting on the ball, you were doing some good things, but we just can't rely on you in front of goal. And like you say, I mean, if Areola hadn't pulled off that save from Silva, you know, we'd be sitting here saying, if only Benrahma could finish, we would have won the game comfortably. And it's unfortunate for him. It really is. But, you know, like I say, it just damages his chances of getting in the first team in Premier League games. And so I think we all probably feel now that there's virtually no chance he's going to start Sunday against Fulham. So it's a pity for Benrahma because he does have a lot about him. I mean, I don't know if that's something he can work on, if he can do some, you know, like really hard work on the training ground and on finishing. Obviously, we've got, you know, I don't know who our strikers coach is, but I mean, he's got to start doing some work with him, I think. And you know, because if he can put those chances away, I mean, now, if he can learn to put those chances away, we'd be talking right now about a sensational performance. We really would. So, you know, I hope he can work on that and get his finishing right, because it really, that's kind of all he's missing at the moment, is just that final finish.
He's a confidence player. He really is, and I sort of have the opinion that he's maybe one that Moyes doesn't understand how to get the best out of. In most sports, regardless of what it is, players that need motivation or they're lacking confidence will fall into one of two categories. They need to kick up the arse, or they need an arm over the shoulder, right? They need, like, you know, they either like pie it with Bilic. Bilic has always had his arm like, I'm my best buddy, I'm going to big you up, I'm going to give you everything you want, everything you need. Or you'd get like an Arnautovic where you need to sort his attitude out, give him a kick up the arse, you need to sort yourself out. And most of the squad, probably 99% of the squad, Moyes knows the right way to manage him. Whereas I don't think he knows how. I think Benrahma falls into that category of he needs an arm over the shoulder. And it's like Moyes has given him the kick up the arse treatment, which just isn't working for him. And it doesn't help that every time he seems to get a bit of form, like we just said today, he played Thursday night, he played 70 minutes. If he'd taken 2 of the 4 chances he had, we're talking about a phenomenal performance. Here we're sitting about, if he could only get that finishing going. And yet we're saying we're playing Fulham in a couple of days, and is he going to start? Like, if you want to get the best out of Benrahma when there's no Cornet, you'd say, let him start. Say to him, look, Cornet's not playing on Sunday. This is your chance to cement your place in the first team again. Put your arm on his shoulder. I believe in you. You can do it, but you've got to believe in yourself or something. But Moyes is just going, no, you didn't do it. You let me down again. When other players have let him down and haven't had the same treatment. And it's just, I don't know where we go with him if Moyes can't get the best out of him. It's almost like some people on the internet think he wasn't a Moyes signing, so Moyes doesn't like him. I don't want to go down that route, but the way he sometimes gets treated sort of looks like that. I don't know. I don't know where you go with him.
Yeah, I think certainly he always seemed had a bit of an uphill battle to really prove himself to Moyes. Albeit I do think he has had his opportunities to do that. But there have been times equally. I mean, we could talk about last night where maybe he didn't do himself any favours. But I think equally you could probably say that there have been times when he has actually played extremely well and still not being given a proper run in the team. I mean, in the early games of this season when we were kind of losing games, I remember particularly at Forest, I thought Benrahma was possibly our best player in the early form. And still, he couldn't really get Moyes to just keep putting him in there. He would still get benched. So you have to wonder, really, what he has to do. It seems an uphill struggle for him. And I'll be honest with you, I think if Moyes gets an acceptable bid for him at any point, I think Moyes would move him on. I just don't know if he'll ever get there, Benrahma. I'm going to bring in Luke. Thanks for joining us, Luke. Getting the energy drink in. I know it's late. Cheers, bud. But what's your take on Benrahma? I mean, do you think he's really damaged his chances of proving himself to Moyes last night, or do you think maybe it's just a blip?
For what it's worth, I think that I feel sorry for Benrahma in the respect that no matter how well he plays, he's kind of always got this thing where he's got to keep impressing, got to keep proving himself. And I think last night, I think he played well, but he was just missing that final touch. But that's been Benrahma's problem for so long, that he's got all the build-up play in the world, but when it comes to his shooting or his final ball, it's always lacking. And even though he's played a lot better this season, I still feel that's the case with him quite a lot. And there's a certain pressure on certain players where when they're playing, because they're not a Moyes favourite, they have to take every chance they can get. So it means that they're going to snatch their chances rather than take the extra touch if they've got a bit of time. They haven't got time to relax in front of goal. They've got to just go, right, this is my chance. I've got 0.2 seconds to get this shot off and get it away. Otherwise I'm going to be dropped for the next game or something like that. So I think he played well last night. He did. But at the same time, there's a part of him that he knows he can't relax. He's on eggshells all the time in regards to his performance. And you've got people in that team like Safal and Souček, and I know Bowen's played well lately, but even he was never going to get dropped from Moyes really. And I just feel that like if he was maybe had more confidence from his manager in him, he'd probably be producing a bit more for us, But yeah, he played well last night. He just didn't have the finishing touch. But who knows if that was if we played tonight that game, it might have been different. He might have got a hat trick. So that's football for you, really. In my opinion.
Yeah, and I suppose that's probably enough on Benrahma. I think we've pretty much covered anything we can there. But just overall, Luke, how did you feel about the performance last night?
I thought it was good. I didn't think it was bad at all. I thought it was very end to end actually. In fact, it was probably the best European test we've had so far this season. Anderlecht are a good team. I've heard, I haven't really checked myself, but their form in the league hasn't been great this season or along them lines. But it was very end to end. I genuinely thought that I think it got to about 70, 75 minutes before we brought the subs on as we did. And I thought all that's lacking now is a spark. We need that bit of magic in the final third to make things change for us. I don't like the fact that we're having to bring on 3 main players to change the game for us, but then I suppose that goes for the same for any team, in any league, in any walk of life. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh there, but it did change it. But I don't think we played terribly. I think some players maybe could have played better, on the day. I'm glad to see Bowen getting back to his old self. I don't think his second half was as good as his first half. But in general, that was a good test, and we rode the test. Areola made a fantastic save to keep us in the game, because if that's 1-1, I think everyone looks at the result and the performance a little bit worse than it was. But no, it's good game, good overall performance. We took the goal well. I expect Skavakas scored a good goal and put it away. So yeah, same again Thursday night, pretty much.
Yeah, Matt, what was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I said I don't like the 5 at the back, but I do think we control the game in large parts. For me, I said apart from that silver header right near the end, Areola pulled off the amazing save. I never really felt like they were going to do much. They didn't as good as they are. They're very good football inside. They didn't seem to have a lot of the penetration. They didn't seem like we've been tested far more in other games defensively. This was more of one of them cases where it was going to be them games where we had to get the goal.
Yeah,
like a bit similar maybe to like the Forest game where we didn't have that piece of quality to unlock them at the end and get the goal. It's just like you said, it's maybe frustrating that we had to bring our better players off the bench to do it. But then again, maybe that's why they were the better. They're the first teamers, and the other guys are the ones trying to get into the team.
Yeah, I think that's how I mostly found the game, actually. I thought we were playing quite well, particularly second half. I thought we definitely upped the tempo in the second half, came out with a bit more intent. But even in the first half, we played quite well. It was just frustrating for me because we were playing so well and we should be winning. And, we'd missed chances or some of the final ball just wasn't there, a promising position in a poor final ball or an overhit cross or a poor effort on goal. And so I was frustrated that we were going to be the dominant team in the game and have to come away with like a 0-0, or worst case scenario, because they won a few corners. Every once in a while they'd go up and they'd win a corner, and you're thinking, oh, don't. You think, they could score one corner and just absolutely rob us 1-0 just because we weren't putting our chances away, or we weren't getting that final ball right. So I was quite frustrated in the game, despite the fact I was happy with how we were playing up to that final ball or that finish. But like you say, the good thing about us this season is that we do have, in these conference games, an incredibly strong bench. I mean, we brought on, England's number 6, Brazil's number 10, and Italy's number 9, to come on and turn the game for us. And that's exactly what they did. Crossfield ball from Rice onto Soufal's head. He nods it down for Paqueta, whose first touch was a bit strong. But then, with his skill, he was able to flick the ball through for Scamacca, who, when the ball, by the way, was played to Paqueta, had taken a quick look at his angle to the goal. So that when the ball was played to him by Paqueta, he didn't have to take a look. He just took one touch to control it and then hit it, already knowing exactly where the corner was. And that's the difference. That's the difference when you have absolute quality players in your team, like Scamacca, a proper number 9 who's a really great finisher and has the striker's instinct. He'd already take, as if you watch it back, for anyone who hasn't looked at it, watch at the point where Soufal heads the ball back to Paqueta. Forget Soufal and Paqueta. Watch Scamacca. He has a quick look. You can barely notice it. He has a quick look at the goal to see where he is in relation to the goal and where the keeper is. It's literally like that. Take a look, and he never looks at the goal again.
No.
Next time he looks at the goal is after he's gotten his shot off to watch it go in the corner. That's the quality you're talking about when you have like a real top quality international number 9. Something we have sorely missed for far too long. And I think it's brilliant now that we have a player like that. I mean, Scamacca, to me, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but to me, I mean, the guy looks absolute mustard.
Yeah. Yeah. They were talking about it last night on BT Sport, and they showed that exact clip, and they sort of freeze framed it to show where Scamacca had looked. But the funny thing that I found is that Carlton Cole was the one that was describing what he was doing. He went, I used to do that myself as a striker, and I was like, in the entire time that you played for West Ham, I can't remember ever Carlton Cole being that on it as a striker. In fact, he played more like Antonio did than Antonio does when he was playing for us, because he just didn't seem like it. Bless him, because he's a top lad and he's great, and he was a good striker for us. I thought, no, but no, it was. I think the assist was pretty good as well, because I think the way that Paqueta knows that the only way you can put the ball through to Scamacca is by lifting it over the defender's head, and the way he does it is just so there's no, it's almost like effortless from both of them, and it's poetry in motion, and it's such a simple goal. If it had been outside the box, I think it would have got a few more plaudits from social media and stuff like that. But it was just such a well-taken goal. It was brilliant, but it just made me laugh the way he said it. I thought, like, maybe I've ever seen Carlton Cole put a ball that way for West Ham in the past, but there you go. Maybe he has me wrong.
Yeah, that was absolute quality though, Matt, wasn't it?
Mm.
It's a funny thing, right? And people, I think, there's a clip from a podcast going around on social media at the moment that's got Bradley Wright Phillips and Thierry Henry. I thought it must be some American MLS podcast, and they were talking about them in training, and they were doing this training thing where the midfielder is supposed to drop into defence, pick the ball up, dribble through the defence, the midfield of the opposition, and play it off the centre forward to score. And they were doing it in training, and like the ball just wasn't getting to either Henry or Wright Phillips, and a lot of the players were saying the gap's too small, the gap's too tight. And Henry was like, "Oh, it's too tight, is it?" And he just jogs back, picks the ball up, shoulder barges one guy off, dribbles around 3 players, and puts Wright Phillips through to score. And Wright Phillips turns around and goes, "Yeah, but you don't realise how good you are. Like, you make that look stupidly simple because of how good you were.
Yeah.
Like, the average person, the average player couldn't do that. The quality you have makes it look phenomenally easy. Everyone was just standing watching him, like, jaws down, like, and he's just like, it's too small. The gap's too small. Is it? That's too hard." And they're like, yeah, for the average player. And it's the same, like you've just said with Paqueta and Scamacca. Paqueta drops back, And so that defender then has to either go and engage Paqueta or leave him and leave him 25 yards out to do what he wants with the ball. So he has to go and engage. And like you said, that one touch may have been intentional, may not, but it opened up the gap to play over the top. And as he's doing that, you said Skamaka's already thought and had a look, where am I towards the goal? So when that ball comes in, I don't need to look again. And it looks split second, it looks like a really easy goal to do, but the level ability of the two players to just be in sync and just make that click and look that effortless is stupidly hard.
And you know what I noticed last night, which I thought was brilliant? It looked like Paqueta was really enjoying himself. It looked like he was having a good time. You know, he was doing his little flicks and tricks. He was showing off a little bit. He was having fun, enjoying himself. He looks full of confidence. He played one first-time pass down that right-hand flank to Sofel. That was like, oh, wow. You know, just absolute pure quality. So it looks like he's really starting to gel with the team now. He's starting to get into his stride. And I'm really excited to see what's going to come from Paqueta down the line, because I was so happy with the way he played last night. You know, just to see him so full of confidence, see him enjoying playing football, expressing himself freely. And if he can continue to do that, you know, I think it's going to be very exciting, Luke, to see what's going to come from Paqueta going forward.
I bet Moyes hated every minute of those flicks and tricks. No, too much football, too much skill.
Cresswell and Sofel definitely enjoyed it.
I was about to say Cresswell and Suchek both loved it. They were
Suchek,
right on it. Yeah, it's great. No, it was nice to see. That's what you want. That brought back memories a little bit of the knockout runs in the Europa League last season, because I don't think I fully appreciated them. I don't think looking back now, I was just gutted we didn't make top 4 in that season. And I loved it towards the end, obviously getting to the semi-final and stuff. But as a West Ham fan, being deprived of European football for so many years, even getting knocked out of the qualifiers and all that, it's, to me, I don't know if anyone else agrees with this, but I'm still in dreamland that we're in Europe. I've grown up with West Ham being so poor, fighting relegation battles, and we're doing these videos and we're talking about, oh, have we played well in Europe and have we played well? We should be doing this, we should be doing that. For me, the fact that we can even put in a competent performance where at the very least we're matching a European team, no matter what level there are, that's to me, that's what I've really dreamed of as a West Ham fan. Getting knocked out by Astra Gugu twice in the qualifiers, and not getting the chance to see a group stage. And we're bossing both the group stages in the last 2 seasons. And the funny thing, I've talked to my brother about it today, I'm interested to see if we do qualify as technically as top, the winners of this group, if Moyes does what he did last season and he plays the kids for the last game, if he puts them all in, which I'd like to see him do personally. I think it worked well last season. Yes, we lost, and it was, but it wasn't. They weren't all over us by any means. And I know obviously there's games to come, but it would be nice to see if he could keep the faith again and just say, right, we're through now. There's nothing to lose. Let's go out and play a load of under 23s and give them their chance.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to beat Anderlecht again next Thursday at home.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I think Moyes will put out a strong team again. He'll want to put this group to bed. And I think basically if we beat them and Silkeborg don't win, I think that guarantees us top of the group. We're going to be well clear.
So we don't have two games
into the last 16. So it takes, and then we basically don't have a meaningful conference game until March, essentially. So
mad.
And so that we can concentrate on the league right up until then. So a very important game at home to Anderlecht next Thursday. We've got to make sure we win that, and I believe we will. But I think what it shows, given how well we did in the Europa League last season, and who knows what might have happened had Cresswell not getting sent off after 11 minutes out in Frankfurt. I mean, who knows what would have been possible. But I mean, it goes to show. Look. Yeah. We are absolutely capable of winning this tournament. We really are. And even in the last 16, you never know who you'll draw. We might get a relatively handy draw in the last 16 even. I mean, we could cruise to a quarterfinal. We could potentially cruise to a semi-final, depending on the draws. We really could, depending on which teams we
Yeah,
draw.
I know.
We
I
could
know.
cruise to a semi-final, and
Let's not forget,
it's
I-
exciting stuff.
we got to the semi-finals of the Europa League last year. Right? And did we not? Frankfurt got dropped out of the Champions League. If I remember rightly, they were one of the teams that come down from the Champions League into the Europa, along with like Seville. Right?
Oh, what from the group stage?
Yeah. They
Oh,
got knocked
yeah,
out the group stage down into the Europa.
Yeah.
So we walked our group stage in the Europa last year.
Mm,
So anyone that drops down into the conference will be one of the teams that finished third. And was it?
yeah,
I think we finished third in our group last year. Like, you know what I mean? It's
yeah. I know
But
what you're trying to
it's
say.
that sort of level team. And you think about the fact that we made 9 changes against what was our hardest game in the group, Anderlecht. We made 9 first-team changes. We dropped 9 of our first-team players to the bench. Won quite comprehensively 1-0 and probably should have won by 3 or 4. Shows you where that squad actually is at a whole, and maybe shows where the Premier League is compared to a lot of the rest of Europe at the moment.
Yeah. But when you consider that Arsenal put out a pretty much, I think, their second team as well, and got past the team Bodo Glimt, who they're no mugs. They've beaten some decent teams in the last couple of years. Probably says the same thing as well. So yeah, you got a point.
Yeah, and I think the players as well know it. I think the players know that they can win this. They won't fear anybody in this tournament. I think they'll really feel like we can go all the way in this. They'll probably think it's going to take a bloody good team. And and in the latter stages of the tournament, quarterfinals on, I mean, he's going to play an even stronger team, Moyes. He's going to start Rice and Paqueta and Scamacca and his players. So it's going to take a bloody good team to beat us, or another maybe moment of madness from a player getting sent off or something. But actually, do you know what? Because I want to stay on last night for a while, because there's one player that I just have to talk about, and that's Flynn Downes. He's made 2 starts for Moyes, both in this competition, and he's been man of the match on both occasions. Now, last night was against a decent side. They're going away to Belgium, to Anderlecht, to play them in their backyard. I know they're not a great side, but they're at home, and they would have been up for this game. They're playing a Premier League team. They would have watched us go all the way to the semi-finals in the Europa last season. They watch Premier League, it's the biggest league in the world. So they would have been well up for it. It would have been almost like, an FA Cup tie where a Premier League team, maybe draws a Championship team, or, a League One team, and they're right up for it. It's in their backyard. And Anderlecht would have approached this like that. They would have been really up for this. They would have been absolutely gagging to take our scalp. That would have been a really massive win for them, apart from they needing the points. So, to go away there and play so well and to beat them out there is a very good result. And I thought Flynn Downes, again, was man of the match last night. I thought he was superb. And I think he's gone a long, long way towards convincing Moyes that he's got a player here. So I think Downes is a player now that Moyes will bring off the bench in the Premier League. Whereas before, I don't think he would have. But I think now he trusts Downes enough that he'll actually use him in the Premier League off the bench if he feels he wants to shut up shop or something, or wants to solidify the midfield. I thought Flynn was superb last night. What did you guys think?
Matt, I'll let you go first.
I thought he was fantastic. I thought he put in a very Rice-esque performance. And I think you're right, Tommy. I think right now, that I don't think he'll start a Premier League game yet. Don't forget, I think we've still got another 10 games between now and the World Cup. We're basically playing twice a week because they're cramming. Rather than finishing the European group stages in December, we're finishing it essentially, I think, in October. So I think he'll get a run in the cup games between now and the World Cup to get him up to where Moyes wants him for the squad. But I think after the World Cup, he could legitimately be in with a shout of taking like Soucek's place. And it's just the ability he has on the ball. He's one of these players that doesn't look like I said about Ben Rama earlier, where he's rushed and he hasn't got. He thinks if I don't get that chance, if I don't take this, I'm going to get dropped, and it's the confidence, and they feel pressured. He looks very calm on the ball, Lynn Downs. He looks calm. He looks assured. For me, he's probably now in front of. He's certainly in front of Lanzini. You know, if you think you had a cultured, experienced pro as at his age now in Lanzini, and I know he's say 23 Flynn Downs, but he's never played at the top flight level before. He's certainly European competition against, you know, I think Anderlecht finished second in the league last year. So it's a high standard of football, and he looked far more of a comfortable, dominant holding midfielder compared to Lanzini. For me, his career at the moment is only going one way, and I think the comments Moyes made after the game, seeming that, you know, he's given us something to think about, shows you that he is, like you said, he is now going to be probably the first choice option if he wants to change that to midfield pair, if he wants to shore it up. You know, he's probably put himself in front of a Lanzini and a Fornals in that position with the two performances he's put in. Don't forget, he started 2 games in the Europa League and he was probably man of the match in both.
Yeah, and I thought what I really loved about his performance actually was his intelligence. You know, like there was quite a bit of talk actually when we signed him, because I didn't know a lot about him, to be completely honest. I hadn't really seen Swansea play, you know, so I didn't really know what to expect. But some of the talk was that he likes an old crunching tackle and maybe gotten a lot of cards and stuff like that. So I thought maybe we were getting like more of a Julian Dix type kind of player who was going to fold a few people and maybe put in some rash challenges and get himself sent off stupidly or so. But he looked so calm and assured last night. The timing of his challenges was fantastic. You know, there was no rash challenges. He knew when not to go in and foul, when to just press and put the opponent under pressure without going through them and giving a foul. And his passing was incredibly intelligent. He's a great passer of a ball. I mean, I was really impressed with his intelligence and maturity. I really was. I thought it was fantastic. What did you think, Luke? Sorry, Matt. Yeah.
Sorry. And that just reminded me of what you just said. He got really harshly done over by Ben Rama last night, because that Ben Rama chance that he missed when he missed the open goal come from Downs turning the ball over in midfield and playing that intelligent pass to put Bowen away down the wing. And if he'd have scored that, we'd have been talking about a great counter-attacking goal where Downs has won the ball back and scored. And instead we're talking about the fact that Ben Rama missed from 6 yards or whatever it was and put it on an empty net over the bar. Sorry, it just comes in because you were saying that.
No, it's a good point. Flynn Downs is in possibly the best and worst situation of his career right now, because obviously he's playing for West Ham. He loves West Ham, right? He's a West Ham boy. That's always nice to see. He's got a lot of Mark Noble in him. And I think people have also compared him to the old Scott Parker when he played at West Ham. I think that Moyes' comments previous to last night have been very uneducated, and I think you could tell that he doesn't really want him, doesn't really like him. He's not a Moyes favourite. It tends to be along the lines of, if Moyes doesn't like you, you're not going to get in. You got to fight tooth and nail, unfairly in some ways, to get your place in that team. And the problem is he's got to fight for a place against a player like Souček, who was improved against Wolves, but by no means one of the best players there. And sort of by default, really, Downs should be playing in Souček's place on Sunday, purely because he's playing better. Now, Europa Conference is different to the Premier League. I totally understand that. But at the same time, the funny thing about it is that if Downs was to start in the Premier League team, which would be better players playing overall with him, it probably could have improved him even more. I think he is, for me, 10 times the player I actually thought he was. I've seen clips of him playing for Swansea. I've seen clips of him, the way he plays, the way he ushers the midfield, the way he puts himself about. And he's better than I thought he would be. And last night he carried himself with maturity. He didn't look like he was. I think most players, most fans, when you look at Downs playing, you want him to do well. You're encouraging him in your head, going, don't lose the ball, pass it. And then once he does it, once he gets the ball and lays it off, you kind of think, what was I worried about? He was always in control of that. And he's playing like someone who is fighting to get a starting place, but doesn't even have to, because if he does, he's made with such ease. It's not like he's trying hard to do these things. It's not like he's trying extra effort to try and make things happen. He's just doing it because he's that good.
Yeah.
And the
You know
only
what? I'll add just a little something as well. And I don't know this, obviously,
Mhm.
but it's just a feeling I have. I think Rice loves playing beside him.
Yeah.
I think it really suits Rice having Flynn in there beside him. I really do.
when you look last night, right, you kind of got the perfect setup if Rice wants to do that job of pushing on from the midfield, almost being a box-to-box attacking midfielder, because you can see that Downs just isn't really that fussed about going forward. He'll sit in the middle and he'll sit just in front of the defence, and he'll win the ball back and he'll spray a ball over, and that's it, job done. And then he'll just cover from then on.
Did you see his interview last night?
No, I didn't. No. What did he say?
He made a joke about getting a nosebleed because he had that shot in the box. And he was like, I don't know what I was doing that up the pitch. I was getting a nosebleed on the swinger of the left foot.
Yeah, exactly. His left. If
Just to prove the point that
I know.
he just sits in front of the back forward, just sweeps up.
Yeah.
And he knows that's his job.
Exactly. That also
Yeah,
was.
and actually, interestingly enough, talking about interviews after the game, Moyes said he was the best player on the pitch, and said he laid down a marker for himself.
Yeah.
I hope he's genuine with that. I hope because to my mind, and I'm being a bit conspiracy theorist here, the only reason why we had personnel changes against Wolves was because Moyes felt the pressure from the board and the fans. I don't think he would have made those changes if he'd done it on his own will. And come Fulham, I would like him to go a step further, and I'd like him to drop Souček for Downs. It won't happen. It won't, because dropping Souček is just a step too far for him. It's going to take time.
He'll get away with it, and he can rightly get away with it, for I say, until the World Cup.
We've
got so many games coming on.
Yeah,
he will rotate that team every week. So
that's fair
I'm
enough.
not saying that he won't necessarily play the Premier League games, but I think until the World Cup, Downs has shown that certainly he's going to be the first choice. If you're doing the rotation option for the midfield in the cup games, because we've got the Carabao Cup coming up and the couple of games left, he should be using that opportunity to say, when we come back from the World Cup, look, boys, you want to play this more possession-based game. If you want to play that,
player. Yeah,
I'm the guy to do it. I've shown you that I don't get pressure on the ball. I don't get bullied. I can make the tackles. I've got the range of passing. I mean, it was Antonio with a diving header, and I don't remember, it went like entirely sideways in the wrong direction. I think Bowen ended up handballing it and dragging it wide. But that was a Flynn Downs cross, and he actually looks up, and he didn't just lump a ball into the box.
No.
But they showed the reverse angle. He literally side-footed it and picked out Antonio. It was just, I don't know, come off 50p.
Yeah, but I think
in the wrong direction.
I think last night was massive for Flynn in the sense that I think now he can expect to play in the remaining 3 Conference League games, and I think he'll play against Blackburn in the Cup. I think Moyes, he proved to Moyes last night that Moyes can rest Rice and put Downs in there, and he's going to go in and do a really good job.
Don't get me wrong. When I'm sorry to interrupt, but when I'm saying, put him in over Souček, I'm not anti-Souček and anti-Soufal and the other player that's not playing well. I want them to do well. When they're in a West Ham shirt, I want them to play well. I want Souček to be the old Souček where he's scoring goals in the box, he's making tackles, he's all over the pitch. I want him to be the best player he can be for West Ham. The only thing for me is when you're not performing and there are other players who can perform within your role better, then get them in. Benrahma, for me, I want Benrahma to prosper. I think he's a fantastic player on his day. I kind of hate the fact that his final ball isn't working out, because I believe in him. I think it's, like I said, I've mentioned before when I first come on, reasons why, but I want Soufal to be the old Soufal who's rocketing down the wing and putting in crosses for Antonio to score and all sorts of stuff. I want them both to get back. It's a shame that they haven't for whatever reason, but this is football, and football doesn't stand still. The Premier League does not stand still. If you've got to be producing all the time, so in that respect, it's gutting that they're not producing their old form, but it's tough. So for me, Downs starts on Sunday, but he won't. So
no, Moyes won't go that far yet. But no. I think Downs is well on the way to being that player that can come off the bench that Moyes will trust to bring on if, for whatever reason, he wants to get an extra man in midfield to help shield the defence, or if Souček has to come off for any reason. Souček picks up a knock or something, or he's on a yellow and he looks in danger of getting sent off. I think Moyes now would actually bring Flynn Downs on. So I think he's done himself the world of good there, and I'm really happy for him because obviously, look, we know his story. He's from a West Ham family. When he signed for the club and he was pictured in the shirt, he had his granddad's scarf around his neck, West Ham scarf around his neck. So there's a lot of goodwill towards Flynn, and I'm delighted for him.
One of us, isn't it? One of us.
But the other thing actually from last night was great isn't it fantastic to have Craig Dawson back? I thought he was so good again last night. And even going back to the Fulham game, where Wolves tried that old trick against us where they spring Traore on us.
Yeah.
Late in the game as an impact sub to try and get something out of it because they think, he can come on late and hurt us. Dawson absolutely shut him down. Shut him down, shut him out. He got absolutely no change out of Dawson. And, I think it's fantastic to have Craig back, and he was excellent again last night.
It was. I've got respect for him even more since obviously he's come out that he wants to move back to live close to his family. And I think certain players have left West Ham in the past, really good players, and other fans from other clubs have said, why do you not like those players? Because they were really good for you. And sometimes trying to explain to fans that it's the way you leave a club is the reason why you're thought of a certain way. Arnautovic, Payet, etc. could go on. When you've got players like Dawson, who respectfully they want to move for a certain reason. Stuart Pearce could do it because he wasn't in that same position that Dawson is in. But Dawson's come back after being rested last season for the injury that he kept carrying on through. Again, even more respect just for doing that last season. And he's come in, he hasn't shirked responsibility. He's still stayed the same rock hard player that he's always been, solid as a brick. And I think every West Ham fan would agree with me that he deserves so much respect for where he's come from, where he's at the club now, the fact that he's staying on till we can find a replacement in January. And hopefully he gets. I'd like him to see get a bit of a send off. I don't know how we'd manage it. I don't know whether there's a deal that can be done with him when he gets his wishes in January or November, and then the deal's done, in December or whatever. Because the World Cup's coming up, so I think they'll probably want to get things done before the World Cup starts or during it. But he's become a bit of a cult hero, which is really nice to see. And I think that. I don't know if there's a way during a match if he comes off and they give a clap right at the end, they come back, maybe that'd be nice. But I don't know if anyone's realised this. I find it quite funny that I think the last 2 goals he scored for us from corners have come off his shoulder, and I think there was a point last night where I think he went for a corner, and him and Antonio didn't quite get their communication sorted out, and he tried to almost jump over or just lean over Antonio, and he fully went to hit it, missed it completely, and hit his shoulder. And I'm thinking, I wonder how many goals Dawson scored for us was actually come off his shoulder. And I bet he was receiving with that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where it comes off as long as it's legal. And
starting to think he means it now.
He can score from anything, can't he? Let's be honest.
But the thing with Dawson, I don't get. I mean, I understand the part. He's from the Midlands. His family are there. But, it's not the other side of the Atlantic. It's not that far, number one. And number two, he's playing at a club that are having a really good time of it right now.
I was thinking
that have finished 6th and 7th his last 2 seasons with West Ham. He's played in massive European games, against Sevilla and Lyon, Frankfurt, quarterfinal, semi-final of Europa League. We're in Europe in a competition we might win, and you might get a medal for this season. And I just don't understand him wanting to leave the club right now because he's being played. Moyes likes him a lot. He's getting games, and he's played a lot of games for us. And I just don't understand him wanting to go. Family or not, in the Midlands, I don't get it. It's a really good time for him to be at West Ham right now, and he might get a medal out of it potentially even at the end of this season and still playing some really big games. A really good club right now. I just can't fathom it, to be completely honest.
I must admit, I think since I've been listening to these podcasts with players once they retire or they get what's it called? They get a job. I think Sean Dyche has done an interview since he's been sacked by Burnley, and he's obviously not retired. He just hasn't got a job yet. But as much as to us fans, right, being in Europe is amazing. Watching our team in the Premier League is amazing. It's like a dream. Like it's a hobby for us. It's our life, our 24/7 life. We love watching West Ham and all the rest of it. It is a job to them. It is literally just a job. There's a lot of players out there who do it just for, they don't like football. They don't like playing football. It means virtually nothing to them to walk out in front of a stadium full of people screaming and shouting for them. It's literally it's like their 9 to 5. That is what it is for them. It's a shame. Really, it's a shame. It's a shame that they think of it like that, but that is what it is. But then also, there comes into respect of two aspects of this. First of all, we don't know what his home life's like. You know, maybe his family are really unsettled and he's literally just going, look, let me do this for 6 months and I'll be home, whatever. I don't know what's going on with his home life. Second of all, this start of this season hasn't been great. We've beaten Wolves and we've won. You know, we've looked a bit better the last few games. I think, you know, past the Everton game, and things have looked a bit rosier. But I think people forget how bad the start of the season was. All the stories were coming out that, you know, the dressing room up together. Everyone's missing Mark Noble. The coach has left. Stuart Pearce isn't there anymore, and that all has an effect. So it might be that then he wanted to leave, whereas now things are a little bit more easier. And who knows? Within the next month, we might go. Do you know what? I might stay. But we live in a West Ham bubble. We live in a bubble where we're going. Well, we're in the Conference League. Why would you want to leave? It's not. We wouldn't understand. We wouldn't, honestly. Since I've listened to this podcast and everything, it's opened my eyes to just how much that, you know, even now, you know, you've got players at the top. Their agents are on the phone to other clubs going, right, my players, my team. You know, Haaland's on fire at the minute. And the media are now coming out saying he's got a clause in his contract to go to Real Madrid. So, you know, the geezer's tearing up in the Premier League and he's already looking to go up to Spain. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and I can't understand it either. I genuinely can't understand it. Only Craig Dawson will understand why he wants to go back and why he wants to do what he wants to do. The other thing is the fact that he wasn't signed as the player that he is for us now. He was signed as basically a glorified ball boy. To come when we need him, and maybe that's what the family thought it was going to be. It was only going to be a short-term thing for 6 months or a year, and then he'd come back. But he's been with us twice as long now, almost like heading on to almost 3 years now. And it's like, come on, Craig, you know, you did. He said it's only going to be a short-term thing, a temporary job, and now you haven't come back yet. So there has to be a lot of avenues to it. There's more than meets the eye with it completely, but
maybe, you said, maybe he's just a big family man. Maybe that is because don't forget, I mean, he's going to be 33 when his contract runs out at the end of the season. And so for most Premier League players now, 33 to like 36 is the end of your career.
It's
so maybe, like I said, he probably didn't expect to be playing that much.
No.
We weren't in Europe when he signed either. So he's probably said to the missus, look, West Ham have given me a deal, 3 years. West Ham have been like a mid-table team. Europe wouldn't have been a consideration.
He's going away. He's going away a lot now. He's going away across Europe quite a lot now, so he's not even at home during the week.
No, he's basically like, you know, it's not even just like he's down in London and it's like an hour and a half on a train or whatever back up to Manchester. It's when are you going to be home? Well, I was going to be home for 2 days in a week, but we're going to have to handle it on Wednesday. Like, it wasn't in that. And like you said, we don't understand. I don't know if anyone watches Ben Foster's podcast.
I watched a few of them, yeah.
And he spoke about recently he retired. And even when he retired, he had an offer on the table for serious money to go play for Newcastle. Like he got out of job at the end of last season from Watford. And like he'd had a few offers, but nothing really caught his eye. And then I don't know, obviously just at the last day of the window, the Brackler, butchered his name, went on loan to Man United from Newcastle because they had 3 keepers. They didn't want 3 first-choice keepers. But then the backup keeper, I think it's Darlow, went and got injured, and he's going to be out for like a couple of months. So they went from having almost like in a day, they went from 3 first-choice keepers to 1.
Sounds
and an
like
injured kid. So they had no one else.
No.
And he said he was sitting at home, he wasn't even bothered, wasn't thinking about it. And like you said, an agent like does goalkeepers, rung up and was like, "Oh yeah, Newcastle were interested." And he was like, "I wasn't motivated, I wasn't thinking about it." But he's like, "I gave him like anything, like like when you're negotiating for like stupid money. If they're going to pay me this, then I'll have to go do it because there's a point when everyone can't say no."
No.
And the guy was like, "Look, they're not going to do that. There's no way they're going to pay that much money." And he was like, "Yeah, fine, no worries, don't worry about it." And he said, in about 2 hours, The agent rang back about 3 times. In the end, went, yeah, they'll pay you what you want. They want the medical done tomorrow. You've got to fly to Newcastle tomorrow.
Mm.
Even then, he rang up his mate. His mate was like, like the guy that does the podcast with him. He's like, you haven't got the heart to go, have you? You don't want to do it. You don't want to leave the wife and kids down. You've been so settled in the Midlands. Like, he still lives up near West Brom, and he just drives down to Watford for training himself.
Yeah.
And he just ended, like you said to him, it's like, he's 38, 39. He could have gone on massive money, what, 50, 60 grand a week, to go and be the number 2 at Newcastle till the end of the season. If that was it, it was just deal to the end of the season.
Yeah.
But he was just like, I don't want to leave the wife and kids anymore. So, no, I pack it in. And so, like you said, with Dawson, you don't know. Maybe, like you said, maybe he thought it was going to be 6 months or a year for a team that's usually floating lower mid-table, and all of a sudden it's turned into a 3-year stint where he's hacking off around Europe every other week.
Yeah. When I've seen that Ben Foster podcast, it always makes me laugh a little bit because they always ask him, would you look back on your career and do you have any regrets? And he's like, I ain't got no regrets because I never really cared that much about football. And then he was saying, oh, what do you mean? Like, he played for Man United and stuff like that, or he's been in academies and stuff like that. And he said, you know, there's people out there that they think about football 24/7. He said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be consumed by football. It's my job. At the end of the day, I want to be more of a, you know, my family means more to me, and my job means more to me doing what I'm doing now. So I don't, and that's in a way that's probably why he never actually reached the top, because he wasn't Man United at one point. And you know, there's reasons why players don't get to a level, or they're fine where they are. So there's probably a lot of reasons why. It's a shame for us. Probably not a shame for him, but it's a shame for us because he's a fantastic defender. You know.
Yeah, it is, and like you say, he's very popular, and I think we'll be sorry to see him go. I suspect he may go in January.
Yeah, I reckon he will.
Yeah, well, he'll only have half a year left, will he? Because he's out of contract at the end of the season. So
I think they might. I think he'll get a club. There's no doubt in that. He'll get a club. Absolutely, 100%. Any club in the Midlands would have him. Maybe apart from the Giants, maybe like Man United. But I mean, why wouldn't Man United take him? No, he's better than Harry Maguire, 100%. Like, you know, if Man United are struggling defensively, they could do worse than come in and say, Craig, come on, man, we need some proper defenders up here. But anyway, so before I kind of leave the kind of Conference League issue here, gut feelings on this tournament. Obviously, look, we're going to be possibly favourites to win it. We've got to be up there. I
reckon we're top 3 from the teams that are in it at the moment.
Yeah,
gut instinct.
I have. I'll be honest. I've got a gut feeling we're going to win it. I really do. I've just got a gut feeling we're going to go all the way this time. There's something in me that just feels like this is our tournament this year. And what do you guys think?
I feel like we have to at least get to the final. Just improve. It's a lesser competition. No matter who the teams are in it, it's a lesser competition. And it's got to be looked at like we could genuinely win it. But West Ham winning the European title, to me, is just mind-boggling. So we got to the semi-final last season, Europa League. Get to the final at least, I think, should be the aim. And then go from there. But I think we probably can win it. But like I said to you guys, I'm still living in that like amazing fairy tale of last season. So I'm probably not the best person to ask if you want an analytical way of looking at it. But final for me, you have to at least get to the final, and then if you win, depends obviously. You know, if you lose a final on penalties, that's different to losing it 3-0 on a day or something like that. But at least get to the final.
What's your gut though? What's your gut telling you, Luke?
Win it.
Yeah.
Win it. I think it's because we didn't really want the Conference League. We wanted to go for at least the Europa League again, and we've ended up in the Conference League. It's like, oh, okay, well, if we're there, we'll try to make the best of it. So, yeah. Head says just get there. That's me being logical. And my gut says we've got a. It's West Ham, mate. I'd never like to predict anything. Never like to go with my gut with anything, because my gut normally tells me what are you doing to support West Ham in the first place. You know, this never easy. We'll
probably shoot ourselves in the foot somehow.
Exactly.
What do you reckon? What do you think, Matt? Do you have a gut feeling on the conference, or are you kind of just taking it as it comes?
I think you have to go bare minimum has to be like semi-final, if not the final. But like for me, I think it shouldn't just be a gut feeling that we want to win it, because it, for us, especially where we are in the league at the moment, obviously the league's nowhere near done. But you win it, you go back into the Europa League again. So not only have you got the dangle of we can have some actual silverware, you've also then got the flip side of it of saying, it's fail safe to get back into where we want to be competing. I would say, like, our target should be Conference League football. Obviously, everyone would dream, and it would be beyond the dream for Champions League football, but that's not going to happen. I think our time to get that was last year, and the way other teams have progressed again, we're still. If we'd have to probably do another 2 years of spending the money we spent this year to get there, but for me, I say minimum. Semi-final, final. I think we got a good chance to win it, and I think, like I said, the fact that there's the realistic chance of a trophy and the back door back into Europa League again, should be real motivation for both the players as well.
Yeah, and they've got that experience from last season as well, and
the loss in the semi-final to fuel them to get to the final this
year. Yeah, and they've got that self-belief as well. I mean, obviously the players know that they're absolutely capable of winning this tournament, and that's what their intentions will be. And like I say, when we've got our first 11 out, our best 11 out on the pitch in the latter stages of this tournament, we will take stopping. We really will take some stopping. Okay, so we're going to move on to Sunday now. Obviously, this is our bread and butter, and still the most important games that we'll play right now, because let's be honest, we're going to piss through that Conference League group. So, it really is the Premier League games that we've got to make sure we get the results in and focus hard on. Obviously, look, a much needed win against Wolves last Saturday, excuse me. Badly needed 3 points, took a little bit of the pressure off of the players and Moyes. Huge sigh of relief, I suppose, from us fans that we've got that 3 points. Albeit, I have to say, I thought Wolves were awful. I thought they were absolutely terrible. Worst team we've played so far this season, easily. But a win's a win, and it still will have done a lot for the players' confidence and their mood, really. And again, this home again this Sunday. Again, I think we'll play a team that will play better than Wolves did, but still a very winnable game and a real opportunity now, Matt, to to build on the 3 points against Wolves and push on.
I think you're right. I think, obviously we saw, if anyone doesn't pay attention, that what's his name? Bruno Lage got sacked literally the day after the game.
We did Wolves a favour, I think.
Apart from that Costa header when he probably should have scored, like, they never really looked like scoring. They didn't really trouble us at all. And you're right, Fulham will give us should, depending on players available, give us a lot of a better go. Equally, though, they concede a lot more. They're in double digits for goals this season already. Obviously, I think we're on 5. So but equally, they're halfway up. I think they've conceded about 15 goals. So they might score over a goal a game, but they're conceding almost 2 goals a game.
Yeah.
We're scoring a goal every other game, and we're conceding 1 goal a game. So, and most of our goals have come the last couple of weeks when we started picking up form. For me, it's going to be there's talks that Mitrovic might be out of the game.
Yeah.
Marco Silva's comments in the media today, and if he's out of the game, it's going to be that'd be a massive boost.
Yeah. I usually take those comments with a pinch of salt when they come from managers. Moyes has been known to use a little bit of subterfuge, and
he got subbed off in the last game, injured, and they've been a bit coy about it. So, is it going to be a case that he's out for 1 game? Is it a case that he's fit, or is it a case that he might actually be worse and they're trying to downplay it? We won't know till Sunday. Like you said, Moyes has equally done the same quite a few times. But either way, it's going to be an open game. They're a more of attacking team. it may suit us. We were speaking about him earlier, but it may suit someone like a Benrahma if you're going to get more time and space and it's an open, fluid attacking game. But you think we'd have the players to hopefully deal with Fulham and get the job done?
Yeah, what are you thinking on this one, Luke? Obviously, Fulham, I think, will give us more of a test than Wolves did. But how are you feeling about this one? Are you confident?
I am. I'm not as confident as I was against Wolves. I think the Silva has improved Fulham tenfold. They're a lot better team than they have been in the last few years when they've come up and done an Norwich and come up, gone down, come up, gone down. I don't think they'll go down again this season. Actually, I think they're pretty decent. They have bought Diop off us, which has helped us out a lot. And I do hope that Diop does start, because even I did like Diop at West Ham, and I think he just let himself down with his performances in the last year or so in his career at West Ham. If we play,
sorry to interrupt, but we essentially got Carer plus cash for Diop.
I mean, I slag off our owners, but that is just business deal of the century.
Essentially, we got Kira and 5 million for Diop.
That's mad. We knew what we were doing there for once. But if he plays come back against Diop on Sunday, then it could be a massacre. It could be a complete murder, which would be,
You know what? Just while you're talking about Diop, I do hope, because I know it was a bit sour at the end because the thing that Moyes said that did he refuse to play like a friendly or something? He's like, I'm not going to be available for the game. But on the whole, he did try. He may not have been the best player, but he always tried when he come on Diop, and he always seemed like the players got on with him. So I do hope he at least gets maybe a round of applause if he comes on the pitches or something. Just the fans give a little bit of a.
Well, that's
couple of years has done well for us.
That's the thing, is that I think that the fans will take that comment that Diop made in pre-season, pretty run with that. But the thing is, Masuaku pretty much did the same thing. But the fact of the matter is as much as we want players to go, I'll always play for West Ham no matter what. They've got my blood, heart, and soul to play for this team. It's not that's your job. And day to day, we don't see what the players go through. If Moyes has told them, you're not in my team, and then he's kind of letting hanging around because he can't find any replacements, and he's not letting them be sold or go to clubs because they haven't brought the replacements in yet, then if you're then going to tell players that you're not in my plans for this season, you can find other clubs, and then wants to continue, and then wants to continue playing them in pre-season when he's going, right, I need you to play in this game, you're going to go, why would I play for you if you're not really going to be, I'm risking injury here. If I'm playing the pre-season, I'm going to risk an injury, and if you're not going to play me, sort it out, so in a way, I'm not. It wasn't a nice comment to make me saying that for West Ham fans to hear, but it is.
You made that comment about players are players; they don't necessarily enjoy playing. It's a job for them. Well, think of it this way, right? He's still, what is he? His mid-20s now, like 24, 25. Because we don't forget, we signed him young. He was 20, 19, 20 when we signed him, right? So he's just coming to Wolves, which would be his prime of his career. But Moyes has turned around and gone, sorry, you're not in the plans because I've got a 33-year-old of Bonner that had an ACL and been out for 6 months.
Yeah, that's.
And I've got a Craig Dawson that's coming up for 33 that's been playing through the pain barrier for 6 months, and they're both in front of you on what is probably the back tail of their career.
Yeah.
Like you said, and we're going to sell you, but sorry, Aguerd got injured, so you've got to wait for us to buy someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the meantime, risk your move somewhere else to play. Obviously, from a fan's perspective, you don't want to hear, I don't want to play. You want to hear, I want to play for the badge. I run to the ground.
It gets twisted.
But as a professional, it's like if he was in your job and they said to you, oh, by the way, we're going to sack you because you're not good enough at your job. But by the way, can you stay and work until we've hired the new guy and got him trained up, and then we're going to sack you? And you're going to be like, no, if you're going to, I might as well leave now.
Yeah, and of course, Diop in his defence, the last thing he needs when he's about to move is to be thrown into games and pick up an injury.
Yeah, exactly.
Which would scupper any chance of him moving anywhere, at least until January. So you can kind of understand him being reticent to be involved in games.
That aside, Diop aside, Fulham do look a decent outfit this season. I know that they lost 4-1 to Newcastle in the last game, but they did have an early sending off, and that changes your whole game plan. As we know, with Creswell getting sent off in the semi-final of the Europa League, so it does change things. But I think that many people have said that the way they attack Fulham is, I'm not sure if it's counter-attack, but they do high pressure. I think they do go at you.
Yeah.
So we've got to be. Wolves aren't a bad outfit going forward. I'm not saying that, but they weren't at it at all against us.
Well, they're quite toothless, to be fair. I mean, they can play some nice stuff. You know, they've got good passers of the ball. They've got good technical ability, but they're toothless up front. I mean, they just can't get goals.
Interesting to see Zuma versus Mitrovic. I think Mitrovic will play. I think no matter what he says, I think it's a David Moyes move where they'll say they're not too sure about him, then he'll play. And if he does, the jury's out for me on Zuma. I think he's very good at heading the ball out from crosses. I think he's very good at making blocks, and but his concentration level is up there with what Diop had when he was with us. He's headless at times. Doesn't mark players up when he needs to. So if Dawson plays next to Zuma, I think it'll be a Dawson job to mark him. I think he'll do the better out of the two, and it'll be a bigger test. It'll be a bigger test for Aston Wolves will be, that's for sure. And I'm
yeah, I think Zuma. I think Zuma's fine when we're kind of defending kind of deeper in and around our own box when everything's out in front of him. I think he's fine. You know, he's got his back to goal. Everything's in front of him. I think Zuma's really good, really solid, wins a lot of ball on the ground and in the air. I think the problem we have is that I think when we play a high line, I think that's where Zuma really struggles. So any game where we're going to play a high line, I'd almost rather see Ogbonna and Dawson play in that game, to be honest. I just worry about Zuma whenever we've got that high line. He tends to just go missing a little bit and he gets caught in behind. He kind of leaves his post far too often and leaves huge space in behind him. And that's my worry with Zuma.
Yeah, I think overall we've got to make sure that our team is prepared for what type of game they're going to play. Because we've watched it too many times. We've set up a certain way, and within the first 15 minutes, the first 10 minutes, an opposition has played against us. We've gone, we didn't expect this, and they're all over us for like 10 minutes, 15. We've got to ride it out, and then we start to play our football. We've got to be on our game from the moment that whistle blows. And I don't think we've done that a lot this year. We've let ourselves sort of go a bit head in the clouds for the first 10 minutes, let them all over us, and then play our game afterwards, which has been our downfall.
Actually, I suppose I think we probably all could guess the starting 11. I assume it's going to be 4-2-3-1. We can probably all name the same starting 11, get it spot on. But I just wonder how you guys feel about the goalkeeping position. I mean, we all know that Moyes will bring Fabianski back in against Fulham, but I mean, I personally think we should be playing Areola in the Premier League. I really do think he's a better keeper, and I'm not saying this just off the back of the save last night. I thought this anyway. Whenever I put the team out, I have Areola starting. I think he's a better keeper. I think his distribution is better. He's not perfect by any means. I didn't think he was great against Silkeborg, actually. Thought he looked quite nervy. But overall, I think he's the better keeper. I much prefer his distribution. So I would like to see Areola being brought in, actually, and just put in as our number one now. What do you think, Matt, on this one, or do you even care? Like, I know some people, like, it's not a hill. I want to be clear. It's not a hill I'm willing to die on.
Yeah.
It's not like a red button topic for me as regards the West Ham team. I know Fabianski will start Sunday. It's fine. He's a good goalkeeper. I like him, but my preference would be for Areola.
I personally hope that it's, if nothing else, it's going to be in the same vein that I spoke about Flynn Downs, where we've got so many games coming up that Areola is going to play all the cup games, but then after the World Cup, then he will move into the first choice position. I think in terms of, both at their prime, in terms of saving ability, they're probably on par with each other. I think maybe last season or the back end of last season, Fabianski's lost that little bit. I think if it's one-on-one or it's close in, he's quite good. But there's times where it's been in the corner from a bit further out and you think, he should be getting it if he doesn't. I don't think Fabianski makes that save yesterday.
No.
Personally, I don't. I think if that's Fabianski, that's a goal. And for me, but like the comment you made, for me, is the big thing, is the distribution. And for a long time, I got frustrated with Fabianski over it, but I've kind of clocked on to what it is. Obviously, Areola's sort of just in that new breed where they're expected to be able to play it from the back. He's still not the new breed like a Ramsdale or a Pickford, where he's got phenomenal passing ability, like or Edison, where he can play outfield. But he has got a good enough distribution as a goalkeeper for a more modern goalkeeper. Whereas Fabianski, if you actually watch him sometimes when we're at a corner or something, and he's where we could have quick distribution, people think Fabianski doesn't see it. Fabianski sees it, and then it's like this is probably why Moyes likes him. It's like he sees like Bowen's run on the wing, or whoever Cornet or whatever, and it's like he spends 2 seconds doing a risk assessment in his head.
Yeah.
Like, can I get this ball to him and he won't lose the ball? Areola knows and backs himself. Like, yes, I can do it. I've got the ability. So I'm going to release that straight away. I don't need to second guess myself. And off we go. Fabianski on the old school breed. Don't forget the old school breed of goalkeeper is you just have it in your hands and you lump it in a general direction. You lump it towards the halfway line, towards either side or down the middle, and you let a winger or a centre forward do their end to compete for it. Whereas the modern keeper is, no, I'm going to spray it 30 yards, put it on the fullback's foot, and then we're going to continue. Fabianski didn't come up in that breed. He can't do it. So it's like he gets to that point and he goes, can I make that pass? 100% accurate, definitely. That even if I mess it up and it's 4 yards either side of the player, he can control that ball, not under pressure, and we can attack. And if he can't, if he has any self-doubt, he'll just stop. And he'll wait and he'll play one of them stupid hoofed up high balls towards that like Skamaka or Socek. And that for me is where the change needs to come, because if we're going to be more of this possession based and quick counter attacks from defence into attack, you need a keeper that's got the ability to distribute the ball to do it. And Fabianski just doesn't have it. But Fabianski is that old, like Luke said, he's Moyes' favourite. Fabianski is very much in that. And rightly so, because let's not forget, he's been, for as old as he was when he came to the club, he's been a fantastic servant as a goalkeeper.
Yeah,
but he's not what the club now needs. The club now needs Areola.
And it's not it's not like Fabianski wouldn't get any game time. Lots of conference games to be played, domestic cup games. So he's still getting. What do you think, Luke?
I think Fabianski. I like Fabianski, but he's. I am really surprised that Areola isn't the number one goalkeeper for the conference and the Premier League, because the deal to sign him doesn't really make sense. Why would you agree to join us if you're, that's a 5-year deal? But why would you agree to join us if you're still going to be in the same position as last season?
The only thing I can think of is that, don't forget, he already owned a house in London. He wanted to stay in London. So straight away, that narrowed his pool of clubs down significantly.
Yeah.
And Fabianski's 37. I think he's 38 at the end of the season. And they gave him one more year, didn't they? I have no doubt in my mind that this is his final year. Whether it's his final year in football, that maybe he goes to the championship team next year or something, or does he go back to the continent? Is he happy in London?
So it's
Areola will be, it's the sentiment of Moyes has gone, he's my old reliable keeper, I still trust him. He can still do the job I want, give him another year. And they put to Areola, look, we want to bring you in, you want to stay in London, your family's settled here, you don't want to go back to Paris, you own a house in London, there's not many London clubs need a goalkeeper, suck it up for one more year. We'll give you a 5-year contract to put you to make it better. Suck it up for 1 year and then you have 4 years as the first team keeper.
As long
4 years plus.
As long as they're both cool with that, then I'm cool with that, because you have to be, really. But
he still played like nearly 20 games last year, so it's not like he didn't get any game time.
No, I know.
With the cup games.
Areola is fantastic shot stopper. I think he does go big in sometimes with some saves that he should make. His distribution is far beyond what Fabianski can produce. Fabianski's a frustrating goalkeeper when it comes to distribution and fast distribution. I think even if he tried to do it, he wouldn't be able to do it, like you were saying, Matt. Nothing against him. He's been a fantastic servant to the club. Fabianski is still very capable of saving shots. It's not like he's incapable, and watching him is a complete punishment as a football fan. But Areola is at least double the keeper that Fabianski is, and I'm just if it was the other way around, and Fabianski was the Conference League keeper and Areola was the Premier League keeper, I would be worried about getting out of the group stage with Fabianski in goal, because I think he has a mistake in him. I think he has a mistake where he could go for a very tame shot and it would bounce off him and be knocked in. And I think in Europe you get punished for that a bit more than you would do in the Premier League for some. But Areola on his day, last 2 seasons, he's made absolute outstanding world-class saves, and I think realistically that puts you to another level of a keeper that's basically safe hands, that you know he's going to do the job. He's not going to do anything amazing, but you're going to put him in, providing that the defence is good and keeps a number of shots out, he's fine. But yeah, Areola for me should be number 1 now, but I get it. I get that he's in for sentimental reasons and whatever, so fair enough.
Yeah. I assume then the back 4 kind of picks itself.
Yeah, same as the Wolves for me.
Yeah, same. So it's Kerr at right back, Zuma and Dawson, and Cresswell will come back in at left back.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think the back 4 is quiet. I think everyone was calling for it. I was really hoping last week he did go with what he did, which put Kieran to right back. You know, I think just even that single performance, he's earned it's his spot at the moment for someone else to try and claim off him.
Yeah, I think we were kind of lucky in that he played there a couple of times for Germany in the international break, and Moyes was able to see him play in that position. And I think maybe that convinced Moyes, like, you know what?
Right.
Yeah, I like what he does out there, and you know, Sopel had to be dropped, absolutely had to be.
Considering how much we call him Dithering Dave, and you know, apparently he spends ages going over transfers. You know, he dissects absolutely everything before he decides he wants to spend the money. Like, surely he'd have known doing that Kira's the first choice right back for Germany. Like, he's played more minutes than anyone else in the last year for Germany, and I think 90% of that has been played as a right back / right wing back.
Just as a quick thing on that due diligence, I genuinely think that due diligence, barely even say the word or the phrase, is how much can I manage him into the player that I want him to be. Doesn't matter if you can play 5 positions. If David Moyes can get you to do 2 positions really well, that's it, and we'll keep it as that. So he might spend a lot of time, but it'll be on his personality and attitude and how much work rate he can get through rather than what he can do with the ball. So that's not me slagging off Moyes, but it is a little bit as well.
Yeah, and Moyes does love a player who can play more than one position.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
He loves a player he can move about. You know, he probably sees Kehrer as someone, rightly, I think, who can play as a centre back, right back,
Left
probably
back.
Defensive midfielder if you really need him to, wing back.
Yeah.
You know, right wing back. You know, you can put him wherever. He's such a good
Modern
footballer.
Modern game.
Yeah, he just looks a really good footballer, Kehrer. He looks really comfortable on the ball. And he's always looking for possession. He's a really good passer. So I've been really impressed with him. I think we've got an absolute steal there. But obviously now in midfield, we're going to see Souček come back in alongside Rice, obviously. A lot of calls, I know, including from me, these last couple of weeks, that he needs to be dropped. But I think in his defence, he did improve seemingly a lot against Wolves. I thought that was a much better showing from Souček. He had his best game of the season. So if he's not going to get dropped when he's playing shit, he's certainly not going to get dropped after having a good game.
No. Well, it'd be typical.
No.
Wouldn't it? That'd be typical.
I think, where's Neil's comment? I think this might have a good point to do with it. In that, you know, the fact that we had an intelligent, mobile, quick right back. Because, you know, as much as I like Sufal, I think he has lost the yard since he had that injury last year. And having someone that can do that and sit back and do the defending and stuff has allowed Souček to maybe not be as worried about trying to cover his mate at right back. And maybe that added into the fact that Souček was then able to up his game because he could concentrate more on the middle of the park and not drifting out on the wing as much. But yeah, you're right, Tommy. If he doesn't get dropped when he's been in bad form for 5 games, he's certainly not getting dropped after what was, at least for him, a much improved game. But so maybe he's had to up his game because Flynn Downs has been doing it in training. You know, it's been spoken that he's been doing double session training Downs to try and get himself up to what Moyes considers his standard. And we've just seen the performance now in the Europa League, and all of a sudden Souček isn't guaranteed a place. You know, that position now isn't as it has been for the last 18 months, 2 years, that they've both been absolutely guaranteed the starting position. Souček is now got a bit of competition. He's going to have to up his game and improve it, or he won't be. Eventually, maybe he won't be starting.
Yeah, and there's that well-reported little chat that Moyes had with Souček, and I suspect it's put a rocket up his arse. And I think Moyes has just told him straight up, "You've got to start improving, or I'm going to pull you out of the team." And I think he did give him a little boot up the arse actually, and maybe that's done Souček some good. Maybe it has woken him up. Maybe they talked about what's wrong. Why do you think you're not really getting involved in the games as much as you should be, or not imposing yourself in games? And maybe they had a good long chat about how they can turn it around, and maybe that's the process that we're seeing. I hope so, because I like Souček. I mean, Souček is one of the most likable players in our squad. He's a great guy. And he has had some absolutely brilliant games for us. I mean, last couple of seasons, I think he has been a really fabulous player overall for us, and has done a great job. And I would like to see him get it right again, because I am rooting for the guy, but at the end of the day, I'm a West Ham fan, not a Thomas Souček fan. And if his performances aren't right, then I want to see him dropped and benched. And I think, like you say, I think you're right, Matt. And I think he knows now that Flynn Downs is breathing down his neck, and that Moyes is at the point now where he could potentially drop Souček and put Downs in there. So maybe that is another motivating factor for him. What do you think, Luke? Obviously, he's going to play Sunday, but he did look much improved against Wolves.
Yeah, hopefully he can, push on from that performance and hopefully get better. Because the last thing I want to see him do is not play well. But if he didn't play well, then the only option is to bring someone else in. But he's got goals in him. That's the thing you can say about Souček. If you have him in the box and you put a good enough surface in there, he's got a goal in him. So I think that is also something that maybe Moyes thinks of, is that, well, do you know what? It worked against Spurs. He scored against Spurs. So there is that opportunity that he could play terrible for 90 minutes, but the minute that ball goes into the box in the 85th minute, 87th minute, and he's there, he has got it in him to put, to get a goal out of it. So I don't obviously want to kick a player out, but he's obviously going to play. So I think if as long as he's complementing the team in the right way, then get a lot to him, basically.
Yeah, and I suppose moving into the front four, let's call it, I think 3 of them are nailed on, aren't they? I think the only question, maybe you don't even think this is a question, is the left side of midfield. I mean, it seems, knowing David Moyes, very likely he'll just chuck Fornell straight back in there. But what he could do, and what I would love him to do, actually, is to put Emerson out there. I think Emerson would be absolutely perfect for this game out on that left.
You're right. The other 3 positions are nailed on at the moment. There's no debating them. And the only one left is that left wing. And the frustrating thing for me is that I think Benrahma's performance on Thursday, in a game that is going to be as open as the game will be on Sunday, Benrahma probably should have earned the right to be in it. But because he missed the chances that he missed, and that's what everyone remembers, Moyes is going to be thinking about that. So then, like you said, is he going to shall I go back to old reliable and bring Fornals in? Or like you said, and it's an interesting one to look at, is could you bring Emerson in? Because he's certainly direct, he's certainly quick, he's got a good left foot on him. And if you wanted somewhat of a like-for-like replacement for Cornet, Emerson's not a bad shout to have. We know he was brought in as more of a left wing back than a left back, and he's done it. He's had history with doing it with Masuaku before. Moyes has a mad idea in his head sometimes. We come in a game and it's like Masuaku starting in front of Creswell, and it's not out of the realm of possibility. And Emerson, he has shown. Problem is that I think that's too adventurous for David Moyes. I think even debating at the moment, Benrahma starting is probably too adventurous for David Moyes.
Yeah, I was surprised that Cornet started last week. I won't lie. That was a nice surprise. I didn't expect that. I was sure it was going to be Fornals. But maybe
same here.
maybe he'll surprise us again. Maybe he'll do something a bit progressive and put Emerson out there. But
I think
I'd
that'd
love
be
to see that. Like I say, Emerson, I really like how direct he is. He's got a bit of pace as well, which is nice, and he does like to drive in towards the box. And
Yeah.
also, if he does end up out wide, and maybe gets a ball out from Rice or out wide from Rice or down the line from Cresswell, he can cross the ball in as well. I think that would be a better option for us than Fornells. I don't think we need Fornells to be in there in this one, to be honest.
I'm thinking that Emerson is a bit left field, and it's very unlike David Moyes to almost push a player who's wing backish to be, and all that, almost all that left winger. But it would cover Cresswell. I don't certainly trust him on his own at the left back role. But then a couple of seasons ago, I remember that he put Fredericks on the right wing, pretty much, almost as a right wing back, like right winger to help out Safal where Grealish was concerned, and it worked charm. So it's not to say he's never done it before, and it could. Yeah, I think that's a great shout to me. To be fair, I was going to go with Fornells because I think it's a safe option.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a safe
old
option.
reliable. He knows that.
Yeah.
He knows what will get out of him. He'll get the work rate. He'll get the defensive cover.
I think if that happened, I think all our attacks will probably come along the right hand side, which I don't know if that plays into Fulham's hands or not. But Bowen being on fire would probably lead more to him doing the attacks more than anyone else. But Emerson's a good shout, Tommy. To be fair, I wouldn't have thought of that one. So fair play to you. That's a cracking idea. Be interesting.
Yeah, and obviously the man of the moment up front, going to have Skamaka's going to start certainly, and I know we spoke about him earlier, but I think he's worth mentioning again for this game. The thing with him is, the funny thing is, I was watching the game last night. My girlfriend was here with me, and my son was here watching the game with me. And I literally said to them when we saw the three subs lining up on the sideline, getting ready to come on, I said to them, you watch for all the chances we've fluffed in front of goal. I said, you watch, Skamaka will get one chance and he'll bury it. That's exactly what happened. And that's what we're going to need going forward every week in the Premier League. So I fancy him again on Sunday. I think he's going to bag a goal against this Fulham defence. His confidence is sky high. And I have to say, we talk about his finishing. He is so much more than just a finisher. I mean, his feet are so good. When he's got the ball in open play, ball comes to him. He's got such good feet. He's got a bit of skill about him. He's got the vision, to make the right pass.
That flicks it downs for the shot downs missed.
Yeah. I mean, I think, just his all-round play has been so impressive. I don't want to kind of pin him as just a finisher. I mean, I think his all-round play, he's a fantastic player. I think
he proved to everyone against Wolves that he's not going to be another Haller, that he can almost be another Arnie, the new Arnie, with a bit better attitude. And he's got pretty much everything in his locker. And if he carries on, when we signed, do you remember we signed Sakho? And Sakho was like an out of nowhere signing, second division in the French league or whatever it was. And everyone was like, you know what? You can tell he's a naturally talented striker. He just got that eye for goal. Every time he touches the ball, you think it's going to be a goal. None of his shots are off target. They're always on target, at least. He forces the keeper to do something. And he said in an interview, I always try to get at least one goal a game, be it as a striker. I don't worry about trying to score hat-tricks. Just get you one goal and then push on from that. Now, for the last two, every game that Scamacca started this season, we've won. He scored in the last two games, and to an extent, and maybe I'm pushing the boat out on this, I think he could become another Sakho in regards to a goal a game. And at the minute, I'm adding Haaland to my accumulators to score at least 2 goals in every game, and he's got the potential to be our Haaland, because the fact that the difference between, and this is not me being anti-Antonio. I love Antonio. I think he's a fantastic player. I don't think he's playing the right position for himself. I think should at some point, if he's going to play for us long term, deploy him to the wing. That's just my opinion. That's another debate for another day. But when you have Antonio 1-on-1, a couple of years ago, you'd fancy him 1-on-1 with a keeper to score it. Over the last 6 months to 8 months to 9 months, he's lost that sort of that rawness. He's lost that confidence in front of goal for whatever reason. Does all the hard work, and you don't trust him in front of goal. Scamacca, you now believe that every time he shoots, he's going to score. That's just doesn't need to take 2, 3, 4 touches. He could just hit it first time. He can hit it second time, and he's going to at least hit the target. So the thing that makes me laugh is that I don't want to sound Anthony Moyes either, but I don't think Moyes thought he was going to be this good. I thought Moyes was going to have it. I thought Moyes was going to think to himself, right, Antonio will stay the Premier League striker, and Scamacca will be the Conference League striker / FA Cup striker, the cup striker. So he's changed that opinion straight away, and it's now to the point where you get excited before a game because you think, what's Scamacca going to do in this game? Is he going to score from 40 yards or is he going to score from 4 yards? It's great to have. It's a peace of mind. I don't know if anyone you're relieved. You were relieved that we've actually got an actual striker that can put the ball in the back of the net. And if you look through the leagues, how many other teams have got a natural confident striker on theirs? I'd say there's 5 at most, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to have everything, Matt, doesn't he? I mean, he's got pace, he's got really good feet, he's got skill, he can pick out a pass, he's strong in the air, great finisher with his feet. I mean, he just seems to have everything.
He is what Liverpool thought they bought when they bought Darwin Núñez.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we didn't get him in January. We had that deadline day when it got turned down.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, I'd seen the videos and I've seen what he'd done in the Champions League, and there was a player there for Núñez. But he might be one that needs confidence, and he gets that goal, and then he might go on a run of scoring goals.
Just as you're on that, right? 100%. Núñez does not fit the Liverpool way of playing at all. Mane did 1,000%. Núñez is like Haller was for us in that he's basically a target man who isn't completely mobile and is a bit shot shy, and he's the worst player Liverpool could have got in. I actually think Núñez would suit us if he comes to us in January as being the third striker.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was rumours in pre-season that, because Liverpool were one of these teams, especially Klopp brought the whole gegenpress thing over, and they did one set of shuttle running for the morning warm up. Núñez was gassed out after the first set, and everyone was running around like we do, and he's like knackered. But look, I think people thought he was going to be that when we got Scamacca. I think you're right. I generally don't think we've had. I don't think we've had someone of Scamacca's finishing ability and his play as a whole probably since someone like Ashton.
Yeah,
he's that mould of centre forward.
Quite a name from the past, isn't it?
But you're talking about Antonio, and you're right. Look, people shouldn't diminish Antonio because the job he's done over the last 3 years has been phenomenal for West Ham. But to sum up, the position we're at, we were screaming out for 2 years to Moyes, go and buy another centre forward, right? And he was like, I can't find someone that can do Antonio's job. Well, no, because Antonio's not a centre forward. In the greatest respect, he's not.
No.
He's a modern day wing forward.
Yeah.
You look at the comparison of Man City. Sterling played up front for Man City for the last 2 years and averaged over 20 goals a season. But how many chances did he miss getting 20 goals a season?
He missed.
Yeah, I think Antonio would probably be perfect, on the right of a front three or something.
Yeah, because that was his natural position. Whereas they put Haaland in, and the son of a bitch is banging 3 goals a game. If he carries on at this rate, he's going to get over 50 goals hard. But if you look at the last 2 goals Scamacca scored, you had the one on the outside the box. He takes 1 touch to control it, 1 touch, bang, in the far corner. Goal yesterday. Like you said, before the ball's got to him, he's already looked, where's the goal, right? I now know where the goal is. I know where I am, I know where the goal is. I know where that bottom corner is. Ball comes over, he controls it on his left foot, hasn't looked at the goal. He's on his right foot, hasn't looked at the goal. The ball's now moving, he now looks up to see it go in the bottom corner. Antonio 100% would never score that first goal. He wouldn't. That would have been Rose every single time without fail. The second goal, like Luke said, there was that spell at the end of COVID and that first season when we qualified for the Europa League. Like that Antonio had that form for about 6, 7, 8 months when you said you'd back him to score. But outside of that form of that critical 9, 10, 12 months, you wouldn't. He would not score that goal that Scamacca scored last night. He wouldn't have. First of all, he wouldn't have had the attacking mentality to have a look beforehand. He'd have taken a touch, probably taken the second touch, and then had a shot. At which point the keeper set. The reason the goal's so good is that Scamacca doesn't give the keeper the time to even, keeper. When you're in goal, one of the key things is they want to see the player.
Yeah.
Because your body language and your eyes give away where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
So if Scamacca's not looking at the goal and he's already looked, he's taken one touch, his left foot, 1 foot, bang.
Yeah.
Keeper can't set himself, doesn't know where he's going.
Mm.
And that 30 million, that 35 million for an actual centre forward is the difference between winning a game yesterday. It was the difference between winning the game.
That looks like a bargain this season at this point.
Yeah. And like you said, everyone else is now waking up to the fact that he's not just a target man. You look at the goal against Wolves. He drops deep, he picks the ball up, he runs with the ball.
Mm.
He then played that brilliant threaded ball across the pitch to Bowen, inch perfect for Bowen to run onto. Still got himself back into the box, or back towards the edge of the box, to then get on the rebound and put it away. And I think he will be a bargain come the end of the season. He's only 23.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he's 23 years old. He's not even at his best yet. I mean, his best years are ahead of him. He's just going to be phenomenal, that guy.
Just a question to both.
He looks like one of those players that just have this just innate self-belief.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They just really have this inner. Because what was the game where he missed some chances? Like it was a bad header he put wide. It was one of the. Was at home in the conference.
I think it was Viborg.
Viborg, yeah, the home game. I still think he was feeling the effects of that illness. Actually, he didn't look right in that game. But he missed. He hit one really, really poor effort at goal, which he dragged badly wide. Then he had a header that he should have buried, and he put that wide. And you're thinking, oh, geez, I hope this doesn't affect him. No. Comes in the next game against Silkeborg, first chance, and absolutely rifles a shot into the roof of the net. I mean, the guy just completely believes in himself, and it's great to see. And I can't wait to see what's going to come from him going forward. But
just a question before we move on from that. I'm wondering if Kevin Nolan's had any influence on him. And the reason why I say that is because Bowen, when he was on top form, was asked about what the coaching is like, how has he been with Moyes and the coaches, and he said he put a lot down to his form and his goals down to Kevin Nolan's teaching, because he did little things like you know where the goal is, so you don't need to look at where you're shooting because the goal's there. And I'm not saying that Scamacca does need coaching of Kevin Nolan, don't get me wrong, but it would be interesting to find out. Whether anything, I know he had that virus, but no one was really sold on Scamacca until really he scored that goal against Silkeborg, where he smashed it from just outside the box. And then now he's every game he's playing or starting or whatever, he seems to have a goal in him. So I'll just be interested to see if he's had any extra coaching or he's had a word in his ear from the coaches or anything to change any of that. He probably had the natural ability anyway. Maybe even like Bowen, but it would just be interesting to me to find out.
Yeah, I think the other big question Sunday, I'm going to bring up this comment because it relates to this. We already spoke about how good Paqueta looked when he came on last night, and that he seemed to really be enjoying himself and was really starting to express himself, with his lovely bits of skill, great assist as well. Looked like he was just starting to run things in that midfield. And I think, we need to see that Sunday now. We need to see that in the Premier League. We need to see him play against Fulham Sunday, express himself, do his little flicks and tricks if he wants to, entertain the crowd, enjoy himself by all means. But we need to see those, a goal would be amazing. If he could open his account with a goal on Sunday, that would be amazing. But I think this is the game Sunday now where he's really got a chance to kind of announce his arrival in the Premier League. I'm encouraged by what I saw last night. That again, my gut talking here, but I'm expecting actually a big game from Paqueta on Sunday, a possible man of the match performance even. What do you think, Matt? You think you like what you see from him so far? You're encouraged?
You can tell, like he is a. I don't want to be disrespectful, but there's very few players like, the fact the three that come on were Rice, him, and Scamacca, and they've all essentially evolved in that goal. They probably are the three best players in our team. I mean, you don't pay 50 million for a guy if he's not going to be good. You certainly don't play the number 10 or a number 8 in a Brazil team if you're not good. Brazil have got an array of players that they don't. You're not going to play there if you're not good enough. I think what people have missed, maybe some people missed, is that it's the little things, and that sounds stupid, but like we spoke about earlier, it's his ability to drop in between 4 players and pick the ball up in the areas that we wouldn't do it. If you go back and, for example, go back to last season, especially the back end of the season when we were struggling, teams knew that our thing was getting down the sides, getting down the wings. We rarely went through the middle of the park, so you could just predict the ball go. I'll be sitting there watching it in my seat, and I'm like, right, Fabianski's going to go to the centre back. It's going to go to the fullback, back to the centre back, to the centre back, to the fullback, and we'll play around for that for about 2 minutes. Maybe Rice and Souček link up as well, and then we'll get pumped long because no one had the ability to run in that space between the lines on the half turn, pick the ball up, play it out to someone else, and gets going again. And that is the way that he can dictate and command the game. And if he does that against Fulham on Sunday, just doing that, if he can get his game going doing that, because automatically it makes space. Because when he gets in that gap, other players now have to do something. Because you either let him turn and run, and no one likes running back towards their own goal, or you go and engage him. But he's then got the ability to sidestep it or put the guy into the space you're leaving behind. I think for him, the goals and assists will come. Could it be Sunday? Hopefully. Obviously, we all hope he does. But it's the little things that he makes look incredibly simple, that are incredibly hard, that is what's transforming this team. It's almost like, attacking wise, you're going to, especially I think the link up between him and Scamacca is just going to increase and increase and increase as the season goes on. I think even with Rice as well, I think that maybe them 3 is like your core down the middle of the pitch. I think the link up and the interplay between the 3 of them is going to be really pivotal, and hopefully it starts with Paqueta on Sunday.
I was muted. I apologise.
Oh, that was me.
You're looking. I thought you were just being rude, Luke.
No,
Ignoring me.
By the way, I apologise. I've been on
No,
night
you're
shift.
fine. That was my fault. I didn't realise I'd muted myself. No, you're looking forward to seeing him Sunday, Luke. He looks like he's just starting to get into his flow now, doesn't he?
He does. I'll be honest with you. Since he joined West Ham, that is the most flair like I've seen him while he's been at the club against Anderlecht. And I'm not going to say he's a new Payet. I think Payet was a completely different player. I think Payet was. He wasn't all about the skill, because he could just beat players easily, like they weren't even there, without doing the skills. But it was amazing. But until Paqueta can take a free kick like Payet, he won't be the new Payet to me. Payet will always be Payet. Until he knocks one in from 30 yards, 35 yards at Old Trafford, he's not the new Payet. But he's got he's a very strange player.
Actually, do you know what, Luke? I'm going to say this before you move on to Paqueta. I honestly believe if you were going to have Dimitri Payet playing for your club for one season, the one season you would have wanted him to play for your club was 15-16.
Yeah.
He was absolutely desperate to prove to the French manager, which was who was it at the time? Deschamps, Didier Deschamps.
Mm.
He was absolutely desperate to prove to Deschamps that he wasn't inconsistent and that he could do a job consistently for him to get into that French side for the Euros in 2016. He was desperate
I
to
didn't know
prove
that.
himself. That was the one season where he was probably just absolutely motivated, just 100% to do a job. And we happened to have him here that season. So I think we got incredibly lucky that we got him at the perfect time. But that's why I think he had his best season of his entire career that season. And I think that's why. So we were very lucky, I think, with the Payet thing. But yeah, he was just different gravy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paqueta, go ahead.
No, you make a very fair point. I didn't really think about it that way, to be fair. That's another avenue of it. Paqueta, for me, is a very strange player in the fact that he's a workhorse, likes to get stuck in with a tackle, and can do the skill as well. He's like an all-in-one midfielder. He's a Declan Rice. He's a Thomas Souček. He's a Payet, a Lanzini. Like I said, all he's got to do is take a decent free kick now, and he's the perfect midfielder. I'm not sure if he's going to have the free range against Fulham that he did last night against Anderlecht, but look, he's a world-class player, so he'll make his own free range. Good on you, Lincoln. Good on you, boy. Yeah, the scary thing about him and Scamacca is that they can only get better, and we haven't even seen. I would go as far as to say they haven't even seen 45% of. They're at 45% now. We haven't even got halfway to what they can really produce, and the more game time, and it's not even just them. It's just with the team.
Yeah, and Bowen hasn't hit form yet either.
No. If a team themselves carry on with the good form and they start playing well, we start picking up more results. I think there was a comment I read a little while back, a few months ago, that said we could potentially go on a good winning streak now, and if we do something like that with the players we've got, then we could just fly up the league, and it could be a lot better for us, and everything looks a bit more rosier. So it's nice to know that you have players that are good now, are hitting the buttons now, are doing really well now, and the scary thing is that they can get even better. So have him in. I'm having him all day long. I haven't seen half of what he can do yet. I honestly believe that. So I'm looking forward to what he can do during the season, prior to the World Cup, and then afterwards, wherever we are, provided us get injured in Brazil, or for Brazil, then long may it continue. So they seem to have a good link up, especially last night. So
yeah,
we've got the relationship going on there as well.
Yeah, and like you said, Matt, there that Luke touched on. I mean, we've got a real opportunity to kind of start turning our season around now. Obviously we beat Wolves, we've beaten Anderlecht. If we can get a win against Fulham on Sunday, another 3 points, another really important win, we're very likely will win at home to Anderlecht. And then we've got Southampton, which is another winnable game. If we can win that, then we're looking at kind of 5-6 wins on the bounce, and all of a sudden the picture looks completely different.
Mm-hmm. Football's a confidence game. It's a form game. Teams at the top that are winning find it easier to win. Teams at the bottom that are losing continually find it difficult to find a way to win. So, in some ways, you can say that having Europe's a curse because you're playing week in, week out. But when you've spent 180 million to give yourself a 20-man squad, and you can rotate round, it can be a blessing because it only breeds confidence. If your backup players are getting results, and that fuels the fire of the first team, and like you said, the next couple of games, it's Fulham, then Anderlecht, then Southampton, then Liverpool, then Bournemouth. And all right, if we can get 3 wins on the bounce day and going to Liverpool full of confidence.
Yeah, and it takes the pressure off the Liverpool game.
Yeah.
They can just, they can. Oh, I hate to say this when it comes to Moyes, but technically we could go up against Liverpool and have a go. Nothing to lose kind of game, but Moyes, it'll be fucking wing backs, 3 centre backs. Fucking Fornells will be in. We'll try and sit back and try and keep a tie, hit him on the counter if we can. Sorry, but I just wish for once Moyes would go, especially when Liverpool at the moment are not playing great. I just wish Moyes would go out once and just say, right, boys, we're just going to fucking have a right go at this lot. because hopefully in that game, like I say, if we've got some wins under our belt, the pressure will be off that game. It won't be like must win, or we won't be desperate for the points. We can go and have a go, and we know we've got Bournemouth up next. Another really winnable game against a team that's struggling. So hopefully, we're on the rise now. So before we go, I'm going to ask the all-important question, and I want to put in the chat as well, in the live chat, tell me what you think the score is going to be on Sunday against Fulham. So I'll start with you, Luke. What do you fancy on Sunday? What do you think will be the score Sunday? You confident?
Yeah, I am. I'm not as confident as I was against Wolves, but I'm going to go with a 3-1 win. I don't know what I predicted against Wolves, so if I'm not confident, I predicted a bigger scoreline, and that doesn't make sense, but still. 3-1 for me. Scamacca to get a couple, and Bowen to keep up his Premier League goal scoring, and Mitrovic to score for them, because if he's going to play and he's going to score, let's face it. So yeah, 3-1 for me, and a decent performance.
What do you fancy, Matt?
It's going to be I reckon it's going to be a lot of goals in this game. Like I said, Fulham, we've had a couple of wins, had a couple of goals now, so that's taking the pressure off the centre forwards. But Fulham score a lot of goals and concede a lot of goals. I'm going to go for a 3-2 win. It'll be one of them sort of games.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if there's goals in this one. I've got a feeling as well that we're going to score more freely in this one. I think Fulham are going to come at us a bit, and I think they are going to leave space in behind, and they do concede an average of 2 per game. But I think we'll do a little better than that. I do think we'll concede, because we tend to concede. But yeah, I quite like that 3-1 shout. I really do. I'm going to go with that as well. I think we'll beat them 3-1. I think it'll be a confident performance. And did you give your goal scorers, Matt? Who do you fancy?
I think Scamacca will get a goal. Fancy someone like Soucek probably to end up popping up with a goal. Maybe a Craig Dawson.
Yeah.
I was going to say Dawson as well, actually, saying that.
Yeah.
Fulham, if he plays, I'll give them both to Mitrovic.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play, I don't know, De Cordova-Reid, and screw it, it's a deal.
Oh, Christ, wouldn't that just be typical? He's a Diop to score from a corner, Jesus.
Yeah, that'd be so good.
3-1. I think I would back Scamacca to get a goal. He's just, if he gets a chance, he'll just bury it, frankly. Actually, I'm even, you know what? I'm going to go Scamacca brace, actually, because I think in this game he's going to have chances to score. I really do. And I think this is heart more than head, but I think Paqueta to open his account. I think Paqueta to score his first goal for West Ham, and a brace for Scamacca, and for Fulham, I don't care. Lookman with a Panenka. There we go. Yeah. Lookman will score his Panenka at London Stadium. The Panenka he's desperate for at the London Stadium.
For me, Paqueta to score a 40-yard free kick, get to the corner flag for the celebration, lift up his t-shirt with a Payet Who t-shirt underneath. That's my prediction. Why not?
Yeah, we've got a lot of Dawson actually in here as well. Paqueta for a score, Bowen, Scamacca, Mitrovic won't be sharp. Tell me, I hope so. Okay, thank you guys for joining me. We're going to leave it at that. It's been another great show. We've gone nearly 2 hours, and it's gone by pretty quickly, really. So, look, hopefully we get the result we need on Sunday, and again, home to Anderlecht on Thursday, and I'll be here with whoever's joining me. Not sure yet. Next Friday night, hopefully talking about 6 points. Between Premier League and Conference League. So until then, thank you all in the chat as well for joining me. Really appreciate you guys. I know it's getting quite late now, Friday night. And there's still over 200 of you in here. keeping it real with us. And so until next week, come on, you Irons.